before his first election, he assured the American public that he probably wouldn't play golf at all because he criticized Barack Obama for playing golf. But he's actually on his 16th trip to Mar-a-Lago.
Let's head to Washington to get all the very latest in US politics. And to bring us up to speed, I'm joined by US reporter Harriet Alexander. Hello, Harriet.
Hello, hi, John.
Hi, well, thank you so much for joining me. And Harriet, we have to start with a big, continually breaking story and a very sad one too, which is the deaths in Washington, D.C. From a shooting. Now, President Trump has said he will, quote, permanently pause migration from all third world countries in response to two members of the National Guard being shot by an Afghan national on Wednesday. Trump took to Truth Social late on Thanksgiving, saying he would remove, quote, anyone who is not a net asset to the United States. So first question, what are we seeing here? Clearly, this is a big political flashpoint. What are the immediate repercussions that are going on right now?
Well, the most immediate, John, is that they're going to review 19 countries where people have been issued green cards to become a permanent legal resident of the United States. Those countries include places like Afghanistan, of course, but also Iraq, Iran, Haiti, Venezuela, Burma, those type of places. So people who have green cards already from those countries, they are going to have their case files reviewed, presumably to see if there is anything that should have raised alarm previously and did not. This, of course, is in response to the shooting, as you said, on Wednesday, that the fatal shooting, sadly, of one of these two members of the National Guard, Sarah Beckstrom. She was only 20. It was confirmed yesterday that she died from her injuries. The second member of the National Guard, Andrew Wolf, he's 24. He is in critical condition in hospital fighting for his life. So this has sparked this reassessment of the immigration policies because, of course, the Afghan man who carried out this attack, he is one of those who came to the United States in the aftermath of the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yes, well, it's interesting, as you say, there's certainly the reassessment of immigration policy, whether there'll be a similar reassessment of gun policy, as is always the sort of big question mark in these situations. We'll have to wait and see. But as you say, this is a tragic story, but we must also talk about the history of the Afghan national who perpetrated the shootings, because he first entered under the Biden administration, but was granted asylum under Trump. And we have a clip here of Trump berating a reporter who pointed this information out to him.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful.
So that's an emotive response, and not the first time that Trump has lashed out at a reporter recently. So, Harriet, what do you feel about this, how Trump is handling it? And, of course, in context, this happened in Washington, D.C., which is somewhere where Trump said he'd eradicated crime, did he not?
Well, I mean, yes, to your point about it being an emotive response, Trump is on quite a roll of that at the moment. In the past week, he called another female reporter Piggy. He said to her, "Quiet, Piggy," when she asked a question. And another reporter of the White House Times, he said that she was ugly. So, you know, he's got quite some form on that in the past few days. That it happened in Washington, D.C., yes, that is absolutely significant and so close to the White House. It was just 2 blocks north of the White House. This Afghan man, he drove all the way across the country. He was living in Washington State, so right on the other side of the country, drove all the way here to carry out this attack. But the reporter is right to point out that, yes, he came under Joe Biden. He came as part of what's known as Operation Allies Welcome. And that was a scheme that lasted for about a year, which was to get people who had worked with the United States forces in Afghanistan and who had assisted them to get them out of the country because it was decided that they were at risk of Taliban reprisals. There was some 77,000 Afghans who worked with the US who came to the United States as part of that. Even at the time, it was controversial with Republicans saying that it was excessive. But Trump is wrong to say that this man had absolutely no vetting because he worked for quite an elite unit. He was working alongside top people. He was apparently vetted by the CIA, we believe. So it's wrong to suggest that there was no vetting at all. But of course, there's going to be a very thorough look now at what kind of vetting was done, what more could have been done, and what sort of continued assessment there was done in the months after he got to the United States.
Yes, well, that all suggests that this is a flashpoint that could run and run. But let's change focus now because we've got limited time. But I want to ask you about another story, actually, rather than people coming into America. This one involves one person going out, which is that Steve Witkoff, Trump's sort of special representative on Ukraine, will be departing for Russia early next week as the US look to pin Putin down on what he likes and, more importantly, doesn't like about the revised 19-point peace plan. Now, it could prove a wasted visit for the US after Russian President Putin indicated he would never accept a deal while President Zelensky is still in office. But Jared Kushner is also being sent to Russia. So is that a sign, given that he does have more experience with diplomacy, unlike Witkoff, is this a sign that the Trump administration is taking this seriously, or is there seriousness enough on either side right now?
I think there is a lot of momentum here. The fact that there are proposals being put backwards and forwards, I think that is helpful. That's positive. I think, Trump is fresh from his deal with Gaza, isn't he? And he would like to see something done in Ukraine. Zelensky, there's talk that he might be coming to Washington as well in the next few days. That's not confirmed. It seems that the White House is actually keen that Zelensky doesn't make that journey until there is more progress. But Witkoff is going to be in Moscow next week, as you say, with Jared Kushner. Putin was asked yesterday about Witkoff's visit. He said that he thinks that he is a serious man. He is someone they can talk to. He was quite vague, Putin, about the details of the plan. He said there are some things we can work with, other things that are problematic. Of course, Putin has said, for instance, that it's a non-starter to have Zelensky remaining in power. Well, Zelensky is certainly not going to walk away from this. So there are some significant obstacles, but at least the sides are talking. So I think everybody is just hoping that progress can be made. The army chief, Dan Driscoll, he could likely be going to Ukraine as well. So there's momentum, John. We just have to wait and see what it's actually all going to mean.
Yes, well, quite. And of course, if Volodymyr Zelensky is going to be back in the Oval Office, we all need to fasten our seatbelts, I think, given what happened earlier in the year. But as you say, hopefully this will be a more serious discussion on both sides. I should ask you one final question on that, actually, Harriet, which is there was this story recently about a leak of Steve Witkoff, is it coaching the Russians on how to approach Donald Trump? Is that playing at all in the American public, or is it actually just common sense that the thing to do with Trump is just to flatter him, or is it a problem or not?
Well, the White House response, I think, has been quite telling in that they are very much behind Witkoff. So, yes, this conversation, it was back in October with a top Russian negotiator. And Witkoff, yes, he did appear to be coaching the Russian on how to talk to Donald Trump. He said, you should talk to your boss, that being Putin, and get him to call Donald Trump a man of peace and to say, that he's done very well with the Gaza process. So there was some advice given there, but Donald Trump seemed quite happy with that. He said that he expects Witkoff is doing exactly the same with Ukraine. So I think Witkoff has probably got away with it for now. Trump seems to have his back, and that, of course, is the main thing in all this.
And just finally, on a lighter note, because I think we could all deal with that when we're talking about Trumpland, Trump has said he'd still love to play golf against Joe Biden, Harriet, before then bragging about his sporting achievements. So, I mean, how much time does the president actually set aside for golf? And has he just been playing over Thanksgiving? I mean, he really is unlike any other president, isn't he?
Well, quite, yes. He was asked, I mean, the whole thing is bizarre, John. He was asked during a Thanksgiving phone call to troops by one of the officers who said, "Would you still like to play Joe Biden at golf?" Trump, of course, loved that question. He said, "I would love to play Joe Biden, but Biden doesn't really want to play me." He said that Joe Biden is lying about his handicap, that he's not very good, that he couldn't hit a ball 30 yards. And then he talked about how great he was, about how he had recently beaten a 27-year-old man during a round of golf. He wastes no time in bragging about his golf skills. But I think more important, really, is the cost, is how much time he spends on the golf course. Remember, before his first election, he assured the American public that he probably wouldn't play golf at all because he criticized Barack Obama for playing golf. But he's actually on his 16th trip to Mar-a-Lago. Calculations just this week suggest that he is on course to spend $300 million of taxpayer money on his golf trips, which is significantly more than his first term, actually, which was 151 million on 293 days at his own golf course. So the man certainly likes to play golf.